Welcome to the Sarah Finkelstein Show, where the next 10 minutes can change your life. Also on Spotify and iHeartRadio. Here's Sarah.
Have you ever been in the market to purchase life insurance? Or maybe somebody in your circle of friends and family have been in the market to purchase life insurance. And if you have, you may have heard the phrase, I should say, buy term and invest the rest. So if you've heard that phrase, I should say, not to confuse terminology here, since we are talking about term insurance. If you've heard that phrase, then you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who maybe have never heard that phrase, let me explain. So when people purchase life insurance, they can buy life insurance that lasts for them throughout their lifetime. They also can purchase term life insurance. So term life insurance is much more economical. Why? Because it only lasts for a certain period of time, referred to as the term. It could be 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, in some cases 30 years. It depends on how old you are when you apply for it as to how much of a term you could actually purchase. The type of life insurance that lasts throughout your lifetime, of course, is more expensive because it does not expire. So as you get older over the decades, you still have the coverage. You don't have to worry about it or you outliving the term of the policy. But today I want to talk about a slightly different type of insurance, which is the kind of insurance that people need, or I should say the majority of people need in their retirement. And yes, I do work in the Medicare market, but that is not what I am referring to today. I'm referring to the type of insurance that most Americans, about 90 to 95% of the population, is not prepared for, is not planning for, and it could have detrimental consequences. So, for example, I am talking about long-term care, also known as the extended health care cost in retirement. So if you don't know what long-term care is, it is the kind of care that you or your loved ones may need in their latter years, typically, where they find themselves in a position where they cannot take 100% care of themselves and they need a little bit of assistance, or in some cases, a lot of assistance. So we all take these activities of daily living, as they're called, we take them for granted, and they are bathing, eating, dressing, toileting, getting in and out of a chair. Those are some typical activities of daily living. And if you or your loved one needs assistance with that, then you may, or your loved one or you may need long-term care. So how is long-term care provided? Well, it could be provided in your home. It could be provided in an assisted living community if you or your loved one wants to move into an assisted living community where they have their own apartment, 1-bedroom, studio, 2-bedroom, whatever it is that makes them comfortable. And there are services that are provided, such as housekeeping, meals are provided, and care. So some people need, as I said, a little bit of assistance. Some people need a lot. And just so you know, depending upon where in the country you live, if you have somebody come into your home as an aide to help you with those activities, you could be looking at $25 an hour, maybe more, depending upon where you live. And if you multiply $25 an hour times 24 hours, well, now you're talking thousands of dollars in a month. But let me also talk about the average long-term care claim. So it used to be years ago, they used to say that the average long-term care claim lasted 3 years. Now, you know what happens with averages. Some people need it for a lot more, and some people need it for less. But now they say that a long-term care claim, the average is 3 years for males and 4.2 years for females. And I think we all know that typically women live longer than men. In some cases, we outlive our husbands or significant other. So let's say that you are wanting to go into assisted living. You'd rather go into assisted living than get the care that you need in your own home. And that's, of course, your decision. Although I find that most people want to stay at home as long as possible. But, you know, there's still reasons why somebody might just want to move into an assisted living community. I know in Southeast Florida, we have tons of them, and even more are being built, and they make them really beautiful. They're very beautiful looking places. The apartments are very, very nice. The amenities look luxurious. So let's say that you had a long-term care claim and you needed it for 3 years. Depending upon which assisted living community you move into, depending upon the size of your apartment, and also, of course, depending upon how much care you might need, it could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. And in some parts of the country, it's even more than that. But let's just stick with $6,000 a month. That would be $72,000 a year. And if your long-term care claim or your loved one's claim lasted 3 years, you're looking at $216,000 for that time period. If your loved one needed the care for 4 years, you're looking at almost $300,000. Now, you could do some proactive planning so that you don't have to take that money, that huge sum of money, out of your nest egg, out of your retirement monies, or wherever you keep your monies, and you could protect it. So I would like to use the same phraseology. Why don't you buy the protection and invest the rest? Just like when it comes to life insurance, you could buy term and invest the rest. And the rest that you invest hopefully grows to a very big number over time. But you could do the same thing when it comes to your spouse's, your relatives' long-term care needs. You could buy the protection that you need and invest the rest. So the protection that you purchase for long-term care is customizable to your needs and your budget. Let's just say that it's $3,000 a year for you. And is it better to spend $3,000 a year? Now, of course, it varies based on the age that you are when you get it and whether or not you're in very good health or you have some health issues. But let's just stick with $3,000 a year in premiums. Now, some people overestimate what that is going to be. They think that the premiums for long-term care insurance is 3, 4, 5 times as much as it actually is. They overestimate it. So is it better to spend $3,000 a year as opposed to spending, say, $72,000 a year? What if you got the protection you and your loved ones needed and you invested the rest? In other words, get the protection that you need, spend the $3,000 a year, and you're protecting $72,000 a year. So for example, if it's 3 years, you're protecting about $216,000. If it's 4 years, you're protecting almost $300,000. Now, with that difference, again, you could invest it, make the money grow over time so that you have a bigger pool of money to do whatever you want with. Think about it. Get the protection you need when you're healthy enough to qualify for it, because if you already need long-term care, guess what? It's too late. So you have to get the coverage when you're healthy. And of course, the younger you are when you get it, the premiums are much more affordable. So I want you to think about that. How much better off would you be if you did some proactive planning and protected your nest egg? Because let's face it, most Americans work 30, 35, 40, 45 years to save for their golden years, their retirement years. Are you intending to spend your retirement monies to pay for long-term care? Is that what you want to have happen? How much better off would your family be? Because we know that families get very involved with long-term care for their relatives. I've heard of so many sons and daughters moving from up north, coming down to Florida to take care of an aging parent and providing that care for years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So isn't it better to be proactive? And isn't it also better to just be the daughter or the son to provide the love and companionship as opposed to providing the actual care that your loved one's going to need? So that's something seriously to think about. And I know most people do not want to think about it. We just assume that it won't happen to us. But statistically, that is a different story. Statistically, we know that 70% over the age of 65 will need long-term care at some point. Some of them for many, many years in situations where Alzheimer's or Parkinson's is involved. And some people might need it for a short period of time. But all decisions have consequences. I ask you to please have this important conversation with your loved ones so that everybody is prepared for when and if that time occurs. And I would like to thank Tony of TRC Voiceovers for the fine work that he's done for my Sarah Finkelstein Show intro and outro.
Knowledge is power, but only when you implement what you've learned to your own benefit. Tune in next time for even more powerful tips on the Sarah Finkelstein Show.